Welcome back to another edition of Coach's Corner. I'm Jerry Miller, voice of the Bengals. And with us today, we've got another coach from the ISU football program. We've got Hagen Graves, who I guess coaching is kind of a new title for you, isn't it, Hagen?
Yeah, just got put on full time this last summer. Been kind of a change of pace, but I'm loving it.
You know, you played wide receiver at ISU, and now you're coaching receivers. What's the difference between being the one receiving the coaching and the one giving the coaching?
You know, there's a lot more responsibility. I would say the older you get into your career, especially with Coach Fenn, he really relies on the older guys in the room kind of helping out. And so that's kind of where Tanner Connor is, I would even say now. But once you become the coach, there's extra responsibility with academics, staying on everybody's academics, just a lot of extra little things, doing interviews, like
Yeah,
a lot of extra things that come with it, but still feel the jitters on game day. I mean, that's probably the main thing, is you still feel those emotions you had as a player. So those don't really ever leave.
well, let's find out about who Hagen Graves is, first of all, before we get into your current role at ISU. You grew up in the Nampa area, okay? And obviously the Graves family is familiar to fans of Idaho State football because Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Tyler, Hagen, and Cody have all played football at ISU. Did you all attend the same high school?
So we all went to the same high school up until my senior year. So Tyler graduated from Fruitland High School, which is a smaller town on the Oregon border, about an hour away from Boise. He graduated from there. I went there for my first 3 years of high school, and then we moved to Nampa, and Cody and I both finished out our high school career at Skyview High School.
Okay, now, do you have any other siblings?
No other siblings.
Tell us about your mom and dad.
So my mom and my dad both grew up on the kind of like the West Coast. So my dad kind of moved around a little bit throughout his childhood, ended up going and playing football at Western Oregon. My mom always lived on the Oregon coast and ended up going to Western Oregon, and that's where they met. And then ended up having Tyler, moved out to Ontario, Oregon. And then that's kind of where we got our start in the Treasure Valley, and haven't really left since.
So you grow up in a family with 3 boys. They all end up playing football, and they all end up playing at the same university. When you were young, what were the different sports that you played?
Yeah, so I grew up playing a lot of basketball, and initially I started off playing a lot of baseball. And then my love for baseball kind of faded when I got to high school, and I took up track, and I found a real passion for track because I was pretty good at it. So I enjoyed it. But basketball and football were always a big part of my life from a very young age. And my parents did a great job at introducing us to all the different sports and kind of having us try everything out. Like we would even go whitewater rafting. Just a bunch of random stuff just to have us all experience it. Snowboarding, skiing. They did a great job at just having us try things out and see what we love. And football just happened to be all of our passion, and we all love it. And still to this day, obviously Cody helping out with you on the broadcast. He's still involved with the football team, and my older brother Tyler, he stays involved. He's always asking me how the team's doing, and my parents come to games, so pretty involved, but football's always been a family thing.
Now, Tyler, I think, was the first to come to ISU, but interestingly enough, all 3 of you were on the team at the same time, weren't you?
Yep, in 2015, that was Tyler's senior year, my sophomore year, and Cody's first year as a freshman. And we actually all got the opportunity to be on the field together on kickoff return. So I was one of the returners. Cody was one of the fullbacks up in the front, and then Tyler was on the front line. So really cool experience. It's something you'll always remember. Not very many people get to play with both their brothers or even another sibling. So really, really special.
How did the three of you all end up playing college football at the same place?
So Tyler, that was his opportunity and he took it out of his senior year. And then when my senior year came around, I had a couple options out there. And then I came on my visit here and just being around my older brother, meeting some of the guys around here, having Coach Kramer, I fell in love with the place as well. I mean, we spent a lot of time here, but I never really got to see the insides of everything. And I fell in love with it. And I'm sure Cody's the same way. When he showed up on campus for his visit, probably just fell in love with it, and makes it really easy when you already know it. And having a brother here, and we're all pretty close. So it wasn't like we were going to go somewhere else and just be distant from each other. It made our parents' lives easy, and we all had a great experience.
Well, I know the Bengals have been blessed by having all of you. You've gone now from playing to coaching, being a full-time coach at ISU. What can you see now that you didn't see when you were a player?
That's a great question. I would say the main things are how much the entire university goes into athletics as well, where in the past I used to separate them, but you can really see, especially now as a coach, the entire picture, how the athletic administration works with the university administration, works with our donors, things like that. I just never really understood. And then I'd also say just the big picture and why college athletics are so great, the life lessons you learn, things like that, that when you're in the moment, you never really, you don't really realize you're learning these things. But looking back now, those things were really valuable to learn.
So you're a little more than halfway into your first season as a full-time coach. What is it you like most about what you're doing?
I love my position group, just being in that group of guys. They're such great dudes. Getting to see them every day is probably the best part of my day. And then also the guys that I work with, this is staff. We're really, really close. And I just love coming to work every single day and seeing these guys. But yeah, I would say just the relationships that I've built are what keep me going every single day.
Coach Finn came here as a receiver coach. What have you been able to learn from him that's helping you?
A lot of the stuff that I teach the receivers, technique wise, setting goals, holding guys to a high standard. Those were things that Coach Fenn taught me. And kind of on the same note, our offensive coordinator, Mike Fairder, was my receiver coach my freshman year before Coach Fenn came. So I learned a lot from him as well, just being with him for a year. So both those guys have kind of molded me into the coach that I am today.
What part about it don't you like the most when it comes to coaching?
Kind of the same thing. So both the OC and the head coach were both receivers coaches. So they have to have it a certain way, which I'm fine with. It's a great opportunity and I love it every single day. I want them to coach me, because I'm not perfect. I'm still learning all the time, and those guys have a lot of experience. So that's probably the toughest thing, is just having those guys looking right over my shoulder all the time, but they do a great job at making sure I'm getting things done the right way and getting that down to the players.
Have you made a decision yet about if coaching is to be a permanent part of your future?
Yeah, so that actually happened, early on, where when I didn't know if college coaching was going to be my thing. I knew I was going to coach, but didn't know where. So I got my degree in education because I knew whether it be high school or college, this is what I wanted to do. Started helping out, coaching the camps, the high school camps that we have here every summer. And then from there, once I graduated, Coach Fenn asked me to just help out as a student assistant. Then from there, I went on to be the GA, and now being full-time, Everything's kind of worked out, and I love it every single day. Just like I was talking about, those relationships and all these experiences, they're hard to beat. I mean, I don't feel like I ever work a day. It's something I love to do, and I can see myself doing it for a long time.
That's awesome. This past spring season, even though the Bengals were 2-4, there was so much to be excited about, and a lot of it revolved around the receiving core. Of course, there's Tanner Connor, and then we had the addition of Xavier Guillory, Jalen Henderson, and Jeff Harris. And Jalen and Jeff are barely getting back into the scene now in the fall. We got Shane Daly transferring from South Dakota. We've got Jones, who's a transfer in as a tight end. And the expectations were so high with Tyler Vanderwall at quarterback. And then he had such a slow start to the fall season, and then bang, he's hurt. We're playing a freshman quarterback. Actually, Hunter Hayes walked on, and we're playing him now, and freshman Sagan Gronauer. We had 3 freshman quarterbacks play in the recent game at Montana State. How much has that alone diminished the impact that this group of receivers you have could make?
Yeah, I mean, just like you alluded to, you kind of have to change the game plan a little bit, simplify it, because a lot of these guys, this is their first college experience, and the game is really, really fast. Where Tyler, the game was slowed down for him. So you could throw a little bit more at him. These freshmen, you got to keep it pretty simple. And so it simplifies our game plan. And it makes it easy on the receivers to not have to go into a game with this huge game plan. Just keep it simple. Guys understand their jobs, because they are, like you just alluded to, our receiver group is also a bunch of freshmen. So keeping it simple for them is probably the biggest thing. And then just making sure that they're at the right place at the right time, so that the quarterbacks can just make a nice, easy throw. Or in the run game, we got to make sure we're doing our job. So we're just constantly harping on making sure we're in the right spots to make the quarterback's life as easy as possible.
And that was the case in the recent game. You could see how simplified things were when Hunter Hayes completed 12 of 24 passes, but he only threw 24 passes. And I'm not even sure Sagan threw one. He may have thrown one pass, but 12 catches spread out among those kids. And then, of course, we've had a big emphasis on running the football. And how important is it for the passing game to establish that running game?
We've always been a run first team. Ever since I first got here, it's always been, we've got to establish the run, and then the pass comes next. It just makes life a lot easier when you can run the ball, especially on first and second down. If we're staying on schedule, getting 4 yards a carry, it makes third downs a lot easier. I think we're almost 100% on 3rd and 4 and shorter this last week. So as long as we can keep it in that manageable range, where we can open up the playbook a little bit more. So last week, just wanted to keep it really simple. The run game was really effective. Tyven ran the ball really well. Our O-line blocked really well. So there was no need to throw the ball. When they can't stop the run, there's no point, in trying to throw the ball where mistakes can be made or incompletions, and now you're not gaining any yards, where a run for 3 yards is better than an incompletion. So I think the run game is the most important piece, and then the pass game will come later.
How do you see the progression of the passing game developing throughout the rest of the season as these young quarterbacks get more experience and that run game hopefully becomes even more solid?
Yeah, I think by showing that we can establish the run game, everything else opens up, eases the quarterbacks down so they don't feel like they have to make all these throws, make all these plays, just set it up so that when those opportunities come, it's a nice, easy throw. There will be some tough throws, which they can make. They've shown to make them. Hunter especially, he's done some really good things throughout this season. And like you talked about earlier, we got some of these receivers back now. Jeff Harris, DeMonte Horton coming off of injuries, it's really helpful just to have more depth in the room. It just creates more competition. Guys aren't having to get as many reps in a game, so they can leave it all out there and not really take any plays off, which is really nice. So just having fresh legs out there also helps the pass game.
I kind of want to wrap it up. So much focus on Tanner Connor going into his senior season. And we all know how great he is, his speed, his ability to outrun defenders, all of this. I mean, he only had 2 catches in the game at Montana State. His big game, I think, was the win over UC Davis. And I know a lot of fans are wondering, and I'm sure it's been very disappointing for Tanner as well, especially in a senior season. But I've got to believe with the addition of these other receivers coming back, it's going to take some of the pressure off of him, because as you have simplified that passing game, obviously it would seem to have simplified things for the defenses you face as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tanner knows the deal. He's really smart, understands the situation we're in, but there's certain things where we've got dialed up so we can get him the ball. You saw last week, we kind of did a little misdirection where we tossed him the ball. He broke a tackle and ran for 20. Just getting more things like that has really kind of eased him. You know, initially he was a little frustrated with how everything was going. And I think we've done a good job these past couple of weeks of manufacturing ways for him to get the ball. So that's something we'll continue to do throughout the year, but having these other guys step up a little bit, other guys in the room, makes his life easier too. So he's not getting double covered, where the focus isn't solely on him all the time.
Hagen Graves, receiver at Idaho State University. I got to tell you, I feel kind of like a dad, being able to call all the games that you played in as a receiver at ISU, and now seeing you as a coach. It's kind of like being a dad and seeing your kids grow up and get a job. It's awesome. I know Cody loves the work he's doing, calling games on ESPN TV, and occasionally being able to help me out with radio broadcasts. And what's Tyler doing right now?
Tyler's living in Boise. Just got a normal person job, and still doing his thing. You know, I see him every once in a while, especially on holidays. Football season's tough because it's so busy, but yeah, he's still doing his thing.
Hagen, keep up the good work. Thanks for choosing the coaching career, and the best of luck to you here and wherever else you may go from here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having the talk.
You bet. This has been the Coach's Corner for Idaho State University with ISU receivers coach Hagen Graves. I'm Jerry Miller. Go Bengals.